Welcome to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and the Salesology Prospecting Method, and I'm known as the Queen of Cold Calling. So today we have a very special guest because I am here with Martha Hanlon, who is the president of Authentic Marketing. And Martha, interestingly, has reached that stage of her career where her ambitions for herself have given way to ambitions for others, including me. Full disclosure, I am a client. And Martha brings decades of business development and leadership acceleration to Wide Awake Business and to her clients. And she really excels at seeing and hearing what most businesses struggle to uncover. And here's the part I love. Martha breaks a lot of business rules to deliver fresh results. She has founded 3 marketing companies, but before she did that, she spent years leading product management and marketing divisions in corporate America. So welcome, Martha Hanlon.
Good day, Wendy. I don't know who you were talking about, but she sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard she's pretty good. That's what I've heard. So give us the inside scoop. What is the Martha Hanlon story? And doesn't that sound like the title of a movie?
It does. And do I get to choose, Nicole Kidman to play my part?
There you go.
Yep, exactly. So the Martha Hanlon story probably mirrors the story outline of a lot of the people who are listening to your podcast. And that is, like many folks, I started in corporate America. You know, I got an MBA from one of those big fat schools. I went to the Wharton School, and then you're supposed to come out and work for a big fat company and make money for other people. And I did that for a long, long time, working in telecommunications. And when it just got kind of crazy, lots of mergers and acquisitions in the late 90s, I left to go out on my own, and I ended up working for a boutique PR agency in San Francisco that worked with startups. And it was a fabulous education for me, Wendy, because what I discovered there that I never experienced in corporate America was I was the product. Yes, I was delivering something, but they were buying me. And that was a huge transition for me. And in 2002, when the internet bubble burst, I went out to work for myself, and I've been working for myself ever since. I started Authentic Marketing. Then I started Wide Awake Business with a partner. And now I'm spending my time and energies mostly on authentic marketing to work with small business owners who are making great money in their businesses, doing really fine. They want more, and they want it to be easier, simpler, and more profitable, not unlike the mantra that you just shared. So we work with them on business development and leadership development.
Okay, very cool. So I'm very curious. What are some of the business rules that business owners should think about breaking?
Lovely question. I like that a lot. So I think one of the rules that people should break a lot is that they should look to always be hiring. Now, I know that is something that we like to do when we think we have the need, but the trick is today you need a salesperson. Tomorrow you think you need a marketing person. The day after that you think you need a virtual assistant. And then we go looking for that individual. Whereas if you're always interviewing, if you're always searching, if you're always looking, even when you don't have positions available, then you've got someone's name in your file. And you can reach in and pull it out. You've already done a lot of the initial screening, which is why you're calling them back. So I think one of the rules to break is please, please, always be interviewing. The second rule I think that people need to start to break, and this is one that we do accidentally. Like we think we're doing it, but we're not. And the rule is this: you should be building your business with your client on the inside of your business. Your client working from you into you, rather than you building your business from you out to your client. There's a big difference when you put your client in the center of everything that you do. You think like them, you act like them, and you build your business for them. That to me is one of the biggest rules I want everyone to break as soon as possible. So I'm going to give you those two big ones.
Okay, so I have questions about your two big rules.
Okay.
Let's start with the first one, because it sounded to me, you said always be hiring and always be interviewing, but it sounded to me like you said always be interviewing so that you know, so that you have some resources when you need to hire.
Right.
Did
Right.
I understand that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the interviewing, Wendy, could be casual. It could be that you meet someone at a conference and you're just picking their brain and you're leaving with a business card and you follow up and you have a great conversation with them about what are they pursuing? What do they see their future look like? I don't have anything now, but let me tell you about my business because I may have a need in the future. Can I double back to speak with you? So when I say always be interviewing, it may be a very casual interview. I mean, you don't want to put someone through the ringer of the whole thing only to get to the end and say, thanks, that was great, but I don't have anything right now. You want to be upfront about it. But if you're always thinking ahead, one of the things I encourage clients to do, and I think you and I have done it, is to map out what does your organizational chart look like with you only at the top, not filling in all those other roles. And then the question is, all right, now that you know that, what are the next two positions that you want to hire? And so those are the kinds of folks that you can be paying attention to, because once you know who you're looking for, as we all know, they start to show up. So kind of casual interviewing.
Okay. And so then my question about your second rule is you said that you put the client in the middle.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example?
Sure.
Of how
absolutely.
that works?
So I've had a lot of clients. I do a lot of business coaching, and I wrote a book about this, by the way, called Customertopia. And the whole Customertopia book is about putting the customer in the center of everything you do. And here's the reason why. When I work with a lot of small business owners, they are almost always subject matter experts. They didn't go to school. They didn't get trained to be a business owner. They went that direction because they had a particular skill. They had something they were great at doing, and they built the business because I know, I'm just going to use this as an example. I know that lots of people want to quit smoking. I know that I lost weight and therefore the method that I use will be great for everybody else. And we build the business from here, from ourselves out to our clients. And we start telling the clients what's important to us. Sometimes because we're professionals in our space, we start using professional language. The language that we would use when we talk to another colleague in sales, another colleague in marketing, another colleague in technology. And your client, your prospect, doesn't use those kinds of language. So what I want you to start to do is think first like your client. What is the problem that they have as they envision it? Even if you know as an expert, that's not their real problem. It's kind of the cheese in the trap that brings them in because you're thinking like your customer and then you're acting like your customer. So what do they think the problem is? Not what you think the problem is. And what are the kinds of words they use to express that problem? And oh, by the way, they don't want that problem anymore. So that's just one example. Whether I can go on and on about other examples, but that's one example of how switching around the business and started saying, hey, it worked for me, and so it'll work for you. We want it to be about what the client's looking for to attract them to you.
Well, I love what you just said because you just hit on one of my pet peeves, which is the language. If your prospects don't understand what you're talking about because you're using your industry jargon that they don't understand, they are not going to talk to you.
Right. Yeah. I remember more than a handful of years ago, I had a woman I was working with, and she was marketing, and I'm just making something up right now because I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was marketing something like the reason that we can't lose the weight, the reason that we can't do the things that we say we want to do is because our brains don't have reflective, inflective mindset mirrors or something crazy like that. And it's like, who besides you and a handful of your colleagues has any idea about what you just said?
Exactly.
Nobody is out looking for that. No one is out saying, hey. Oh, and by the way, here's one other thing I want to tack on to that. Your prospects are not usually out looking for a solution. They don't know what solves their problem. They know they have a problem, but they don't usually know. About 95% of people do not know what solves their problem. So that when we're marketing, our job again is to talk about the problem. So they go, oh, right, Wendy solves that problem. Wendy can help me get more customers. She can help me get more prospects. Got it now.
Yeah. So do you find this inside out rule? Is it, because you've been talking about small business owners, is it different for enterprise or, different size companies? Or is that the rule that everyone should follow?
Well, it's certainly the rule that everyone should follow. And one of the things that I really advise clients to do is watch some commercials on TV. Who are they talking to? Does the commercial appeal to you? If it does, it's probably because they're speaking to you. If it doesn't, it's probably because they're just talking mumbo jumbo or it's going over your head. So the rule absolutely applies to every business. I think it's easier to see the error in small businesses because our marketing is more clear cut. It's more distinct, and it's not. We're not trying to appeal to everyone and anybody, which is probably the other cardinal sin about when we're in small business and we're marketing. You're not appealing to everybody or anyone. Whereas if you take a look at Safeway or you take a look at Apple or Google, they're really trying to attract close to everybody, but they're still being very specific about who that anybody is.
So I'm curious, because I certainly run into this with my clients. How do you get your clients that think that their prospects are everyone to narrow down the focus?
Well, the first thing I do is I ask them how big their marketing budget is. Because if you're targeting anybody or everybody, two things stick out to me about that. One is if you're targeting everybody, you better have a darn big marketing budget because you're going to be talking to a lot of people about a lot of different problems in a lot of different locations because some everybody's pay attention to Facebook. Some everybody's pay attention to LinkedIn. Some everybody's pay attention to the Chamber of Commerce. Some everybody's pay, so on and so forth. So you better have a big marketing budget. And usually that causes the brakes to get stepped on. And then I think the issue with anybody, when someone says, I work with anybody who, they haven't stopped to think it through. They haven't stopped to think through, who do I really want? And then the third layer to this is, I think we get afraid. We're afraid that if we narrow who we're looking for and get specific, that we're going to lose sales. And I think that's an issue, especially towards the beginning of most businesses, or as we're kind of approaching what people think of as a recession, whether it happens or not is yet to be seen. We worry about every dollar. And so anybody who wants to spend money with us becomes desirable. And the truth of the matter is the best business is when you're really distinct about who you're looking for. And trust me, everybody, unless you're a $500 billion business, there's plenty of specific people to go around.
So do you find that when people are looking at their market, they say things like, we're looking for people who feel a certain way, or we're looking for people who think a certain way, or people, my favorite, we're looking for people that want our product. And how do you get them out of that and into something a little more specific?
Through a series of questions. Right? So So describe. So if they've been in business for a while, then my first conversation is, let mentally go back and let's examine who have been the customers, not by name, but by demographics. Let's start there, that you have enjoyed working with the most. They had the problem that you solved. So describe them to me. And then almost everybody will say, well, it varies. Well, I know that, but I'm just asking for the average. Right? So the average doesn't vary. The average is the average. Do you have more women than men? Do you have more men than women? How old are they? Do they range from 50 to 65 or 35 to 50? Because the answers to those questions will point you in different marketing directions and will change the nature of your marketing conversation and your sales conversation. So I'll start to help them modify some of that by asking a series of questions. And you know what? The truth of the matter is, Wendy, the answers are all inside our small business owners, are all inside our business owners. No one's just ever asked them. So they've never had to go through the exercise of getting more specific and moving away from anybody or everybody.
And so you're talking about concrete objective criteria as opposed to subjective people that want my product or people that feel a certain way, the subjective criteria.
Well, I love the feel question, and I'm not denying that one at all. I like to start with the practical things because it's easier to define. The feel things are extraordinarily important, and actually are at some point in the game are become more important than the tangible things. And the reason is because we buy from emotions. We don't buy because we're all these logical beings. We buy because emotionally we have a problem. We emotionally are not selling enough. We emotionally have a sales team that's not performing well. We are emotionally upset because our marketing team stinks. We are emotionally involved in this. And our emotions attract us to the solution, which is why when people are talking, anybody, including I spent years in Silicon Valley, and they are heel to toe analyticals in that engineering department. But even the engineers start with the emotion. This isn't working. This isn't good. And we're attracted to someone who's speaking to us emotionally. And then once we're starting to kind of click in, then we take our emotions and we go to our head and say, hey, head, what do you think about this? The reason that I start with the demographics, Wendy, is just because it's very practical. It's easy to see. It's easy to understand, and it helps to point you in the direction of where you want to go to market. But then the next step is emotionally, what's the problem? Emotionally, what is the outcome of working with you? Because people don't really care what the solution is. My former business partner used to say that, do you really care if I'm using raindrop therapy or mashed potato therapy if we solve the problem?
Bingo.
Yeah.
So, and I love the way you're breaking this out, because if you don't have that concrete definition up front, the demographics of the market, then you can't find that emotional connection.
Right.
Because everyone doesn't have that emotional connection to that particular problem. It's the particular demographic of that particular market.
Absolutely. You're spot on right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit, because I see this a lot, business owners misunderstanding the difference between marketing and sales. Right. And I think the belief that, well, if I just do a bunch of Facebook ads, then I can just sit back and I don't actually have to talk to anybody.
Well, and I find that I don't want to talk to anybody comes from my either insecure folks or the folks who tell me that they're introverts. And so I'm going to hide behind the internet. And that only works for a little while. So here's to me, one of the questions that we ask people. I understand why marketing and sales kind of blend together in smaller companies. And again, smaller could be $50 million. I'm not talking $500. I'm talking, $50 million and down is still a small business by U.S. definitions. And we often have a tendency to blend marketing and sales together because as a business, we don't have distinct departments. We may have one person who's doing both. So here's the questions that I usually ask folks so that we can start to understand not only the difference, but if they have a problem, where the problem rests. All right. So first question to them is, so you don't have enough customers, right? Right. Don't have enough customers. Do you have enough prospects coming into your sales team? Yes, I do. Okay. So you got plenty of prospects. You have a sales problem. And we want to address the problem in sales. If they say, I don't have enough prospects, my sales team is sitting around kind of twiddling their thumbs because not enough stuff is coming in, then you have a marketing problem. Marketing's responsibility is to bring the right prospects. I'm going to even call them leads, so they're not even warm enough to be prospects. Marketing's responsibility is to put the story out, put the problem out in a market, in an area where your ideal customer hangs out, which is why it's important to have a profile of who they are. Because if you're out talking on Facebook, which maybe your clients are there, but they're there for social reasons, they're not paying attention to you. Maybe your clients are on LinkedIn. So you need to know who they are in order to find the right location. And then you need to market appropriately to bring the right leads in to hand to sales. And if sales is getting the right leads and not closing them, they have a sales problem. So that's how I distinguish between the two. And I think they also often get blended together because small businesses think I need to get customers. They don't think I have to market, I have to sell to get customers.
Cool. So we're going to pause here for a moment for a word from our sponsor. But when we come back, Martha, I want to pick your brains about creating leverage, because I know you are a master at creating leverage. And also, I know you have a new book, so I want to talk about your new book. So we are going to pause for a word from our sponsor, Salesology 3X Appointments. You know how frustrating and stressful it is when you leave every sales meeting wondering if your sales team knows how to sell, because they're not selling and all you ever hear from them are excuses. They blame your marketing, they say you need to do more social media, and they say you need a new website. You know something's wrong, but you don't quite know what it is, and you're even starting to wonder if it's you. You don't have a lot of options. You could fire them all and start from scratch. That would be expensive. And you're really sick of waking up in the middle of the night wondering how to fix this. Imagine instead that you have an easy-to-use, replicable system that ensures that your team can easily schedule qualified appointments. And imagine that your team is excited and motivated. No more excuses. And you feel good. Salesology 3X Appointments can make that happen. So if you are a business owner or a sales manager with an underperforming sales team, let's talk. Click on the link to my calendar in the show notes and schedule a time. And I look forward to meeting you. So now we are back with Martha Hanlon, president of Authentic Marketing. So here's my next question for you, Martha, because I know you are a master at creating leverage. How do you do that? How do you get a small business that maybe has one funnel or one lead source or just one way of doing things to leverage that to get more clients, bigger clients, whatever it is they're looking for?
So by leverage, give me your definition of leverage.
Leverage is taking the next step up. So my definition of leverage is that you have something, some marketing thing that you're doing that is working. So how do you then take that to the next level, as opposed to running around and trying all these different things? Well, I'm going to do Facebook ads. Well, I'm going to do a lot of social media. Well, I'm going to do telephone prospecting. Well, I'm going to do this other thing, and not have it a cohesive whole, but having a strategy that works for you that you can then build on.
Right. So I think let me talk about first the reason why I think that happens. I think that happens because we go to conferences, we see things on the internet, our friends tell us something worked for them. And in an effort to get something to work for us, we haven't done any analysis on who our ideal customer is. Coming back to the demographics and the feel part we talked about earlier. And so we start spraying because someone told us that Facebook ads work. Someone told us that Google pay-per-click works. We have a great friend who did a virtual webinar, and it was fabulous. And so we jump on all those bandwagons in an attempt to get something to work because first, we didn't do any analysis of who our ideal customer is. Second, I've never, ever, ever stop doing something that's working. And I cannot, and that sounds kind of obvious, like someone pays me money to say that. It sounds kind of obvious. However, I can't tell you how many people do it. Like they get tired of doing it. Well, I've been doing this for 50 years and I'm tired of doing it. I don't care. If it makes you money, don't stop. And then let's take a look and try one thing. Just try one new source. You've got X that's working. Now let's introduce Y. And ideally, I think people should have about 5 marketing sources. And probably at least 2, maybe 3 are ones that they're testing. But you got to test for a different period of time, depending upon what it is you're doing. If you're doing Facebook ads, you're going to get feedback in about a week about which of the ads, and you should always be putting up multiple ads to see which one works. Get rid of the one that doesn't, replace it. So a little bit of testing. With Facebook, you might be able to tell in a week. With something like search engine optimization, boosting your website ranking, it might take 6 months before you start to see any results or see no results and pull the plug. So I would say at any point in time, you should have 5 different sources. And by the way, some of those sources are more personal. We've talked a lot about the internet, but here's a great source. Who can refer business to you? I've watched people double and triple the size of their business because they created a formal, not an accidental, referral system. Like if most of your business comes to you because of referrals and you're not building a referral system, what happens when they dry up? You're hurting. So an official referral system, going and having coffee, having lunch, having a glass of wine or a virtual meeting to build your referral base with people that you know. The second group that you can add in there are who already has your ideal customer, doesn't compete with what you do, complements what you do, and you might be able to do a little joint venture with them. So we've had a chiropractor and a yoga instructor work together because they had similar clients, but they didn't compete, and they each built their business by doing some work together. If I was a copywriter, I would go out and find website developers. If I was a website developer, I'd go out and find copywriters. So there are other ways of creating leads besides just doing stuff online. And, one of the things, Wendy, that hasn't ever gone out of style is personal contact. So one of the things I know you teach is picking up the phone and calling. And when someone doesn't call you back, we take it personally. And the truth of the matter is they probably got busy. Call them again.
Exactly.
Call them again. Call them again. And, the phone's your friend. It's not your enemy. And I know people get tongue-tied. Practice in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth. Make your family listen to you at the dinner table. Just practice so that it feels comfortable. And then pick up the phone and call. And one of the things, I know I'm going long here, but one of the things I would always suggest is make your first call in the morning someone that you feel comfortable with, someone that it's easy to call. End your day with someone that you like to talk to and you call, and put your colder calls or your harder calls in the middle.
Well, I'll share with you back when I started my business, I used to do business development for clients. And the way I would start my day would be to stand up and sing a song really loud at the top of my lungs to kind of get my energy up and make me feel good.
You're going to do that today?
Not on this podcast.
The next podcast.
The next, yeah, I'll practice for the next podcast. But yeah, that got my energy up. It made me feel good, and that's how I would start my day. In our 3X appointments program, we practice with everybody that's in the program, and I make them stand up because your energy is better if you're standing up. Mm-hmm. I'm standing up as we're recording this, mm-hmm. and we practice, and it gets easier and easier once you practice.
It does. Yeah. So 5 marketing sources, and please make at least 2, maybe 3 of them more personal contact.
Personal contact, absolutely. Even for the introverts. And
well, the thing that's great about an introvert, introverts think, "Oh, I can't pick up the phone and call. Oh, I can't do that." And I don't know who your introverts are out there, but here's the thing about introverts: you are great on the phone because you ask questions and you listen to the answers.
Full disclosure, everyone, I am an introvert. So, and also no one has ever died. I've been doing this for 25 years. Nobody has ever died by talking to a prospect on the phone.
No.
I swear to God.
True. And no one, when you call, says, "Oh, you're bothering me." That's what we think. "Oh, I don't want to call them because I don't want to bother them." Well, they have a problem. I want you to think of it this way. You're not bothering them because they have a problem and you have the solution. They have a headache and you have the aspirin in your pocket. And you have a choice. You can let them continue to have the headache and not pull the aspirin out of your pocket by calling them. Or you can pick up the phone and call them because you can take the headache away. And why would you want that individual to live with a headache that you can get rid of?
Well said. Well said. I always, if you don't reach out to your prospects, you're doing them a disservice.
Right. And don't believe they're going to call you back because they probably won't. If they do, consider yourself lucky. And if they don't call you back, it's not a reflection on you. It's not a reflection that you bother them. It's a reflection that they got busy.
Absolutely. Or they didn't get the voicemail. It got deleted, whatever. Send them an email too.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So can you give us an example of some businesses that have been able to create leverage? You shared about referral system, the chiropractor and the yoga studio.
Right. So I'll talk to you about a care management business. So care managers are not home care. They're the folks that you bring in to kind of oversee the elder or the one that needs a little medical intervention. They oversee to be able to create synchronicity among the doctors and the prescriptions, take some of the pressure off the family. And I've done a lot of work with care management companies. And from a leverage perspective, I think there's a couple things that come out of it. Again, they're subject matter experts. They're either registered nurses, they're social workers by trade, and now they've gone into business for themselves. And part of the leverage is first growing the business and being able for them to create a better sales conversion. So people pick up the phone and call these kinds of companies, but they don't track who called always if they don't become a client or they don't follow up. So if they get 10 calls, let's say a week, they might bring 2 people in as a client. What happens to the other 8? And so one of the things from a leverage perspective, we have many of the care management folks doing now is whoever's taking those phone calls is gathering information. And if they don't say yes immediately or over a period of time, what happens to those other 8? Follow up, give them another call in 3 months. Did the situation with the elder, is mom better? Is dad better? Is the family not arguing anymore? So they may not need you now, but the situation could get worse. So pick up the phone and call those other 8 people. Maybe the program you offered those 8 people isn't right. Do you have something, and I'm going to use sort of an official sales term, do you have a down sell? Something that's a little less expensive, that's maybe a way for them to begin to experience the problem going away. So those are 2 things that we did with the care management practices. And frankly, you can do with any business. It's not unique to them. If people are calling you, are you tracking how many say yes? Out of 10 people, how many say yes? If you 2 are, what would happen to your business if 3 said yes? If 4 said yes? And the only way to do that is to track. So one of the leverages, Wendy, is tracking, for sure. And following up. If someone says, I'm not, is it no, not now? Or is it a no, never? If it's a no, not now conversation, when do you want me to call you back? And then call them back when they said you should.
Hear, hear. So I know, Martha, that you have a new book, Rise Up Leader. So would you share a little bit about Rise Up Leader for our listeners?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So again, one of the things that's true for the clients that I work with, and maybe you also, Wendy, and some of your listeners, is they come to their business as a subject matter expert. They're great chiropractors or accountants or salespeople or fill in the blank. But they haven't been trained to become a leader of the business. They know how to be the owner of the business. And we watched the fact that leadership skills are missing in many owners. And so Chris Williams, who's my former business partner, we just changed our relationship a couple of years ago for convenience. And I wrote a book that came out in May this year called Rise Up Leaders. And we've taken the principles of leadership for small business and really boiled them down to 3 pillars. First, lead yourself, because if you don't lead yourself, no one's going to follow you anywhere. Second, lead your team. And third, lead your legacy. And your legacy is your brand and your financials. And we build all the leadership tenets on those 3 principles so that everybody follows the one thing. If we boiled all of leadership down to one thing, it's this. You are responsible for everybody around you to rise up. If you rise up, if your team rises up, if your brand rises up, if your contractors rise up, what will happen to your business? It will rise up. And that's the foundation of the book.
Love that. And we are going to post a link to that book in the show notes. And all of our listeners, if you're listening today, go to the show notes, click on the link, get the book. It's really an amazing book.
Thank you.
And Martha, if people just want to get in touch with you, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. This is really super duper easy. You can reach me at Martha, Martha, at wideawakebusiness.com, Martha at wideawakebusiness.com, or this is the more complicated email address, Martha.Hanlon, Hanlon, at authmktg.com, authentic marketing abbreviated. That's the complicated one.
You don't have to spell it again, because we're going to put the email addresses in the show notes too.
There's always the phone. I'm on the East Coast, 302-212-2643. Office phone, so don't text it.
Okay, so we will put that in the show notes as well, and reach out to Martha for marketing help and advice. I know working with her has been transformational for our business, for my business, Salesology. So to finish up today, I really want to thank you, Martha, for being here with us and sharing all your great wisdom. Not just with me, because you've been doing that for years, but with all of our listeners. So everyone, please check out the show notes for all of the links to get Martha's book, Rise Up Leader. And please do share us on social media. Tell your friends, give us good reviews. And thank you for listening to the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast. Until we meet again, Visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.